Listen at 'em.
It is the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast. Hello, welcome. The divisional round is here. Dave, how are you doing? Are you ready for another great week of NFL betting?
I'm great. I can't wait. Some great matchups on tap. We're going to dig into them all a little bit more in depth than we did the other day. John Harbaugh looks like he's going to be the coach of the New York Giants. Kind of maybe the obvious pick that we talked about last week, but some breaking news, I guess, already coming along pretty early in the hiring cycle, which real quick, I just got to say, there's going to be some teams that I think are going to have to take some real dart throws on coaches. Like there's not a lot of really good names out there. You already got Harbaugh snatched up. Tomlin looks like he's probably not going to coach. Some guys like Mike McDaniel and Arthur Smith, whatever, but are looking at for offensive coordinator positions and stuff. So not as many hirings like guys you want for the jobs available. So it's going to be kind of interesting, especially with teams still in the playoffs and guys kind of not up for grabs yet. But
yeah, that reminds me, Mike McDaniel, come on down. Detroit will welcome you with open arms. Let's run some fun offense together. Sounds great. I think this offseason is going to be a messy one in the NFL, which always bodes for some entertainment value. For today's show, we're hoping to bring you some entertainment value. We are going to go game by game through every game this weekend in the NFL playoffs, give you as in-depth of a betting preview as you can possibly find on the internet. We've got a bunch of different ways to bet this. We'll show you what the Dimers model thinks of every single game, prop value, any identifiable edges heading into these matchups, and more. We've also got a touchdown parlay to unveil later in the show. We have our update for the playoff bracket challenge that we introduced last week. And don't forget, we do have college football's national championship as well on Monday. Our final college football college corner of the season. We'll check in with what the Dimers model thinks of Miami versus Indiana. Without further ado, let's start the show right into our divisional round preview.
The early edge.
Where do we start, Dave?
We start with the first game. Been a little bit of line movement, I'll just say, in almost all of these, at least some. That's to be expected. A little bit of it more significant than others. Some seen at the flip side. A little bit's been reflected in some injury stuff. A couple things that developed as I was still putting together notes for the show. So we got some fresh stuff to talk about. We'll start with Bills Broncos. Let me pull it up quick on my screen and pull it up here. We'll just start to go through it. So since we talked about this one on Tuesday, the Broncos have now kind of firmly, oh man, this one is all over the place. That's crazy. Yeah, this is actually going to be kind of fun. It was -1.5 Broncos favor for the most part across the board here. Oh yeah, this is really exciting. But anyway, we'll talk about it anyway as we go through it. But over-unders at looks like 46 now for the highest, with our model actually finally giving a little lean towards that. It was 45.5, 50-50. At 46, the model does favor it at 51.2%. No value, but it's kind of, as we'll see with a few of these games, sometimes that half point on a spread or a total really impact the model pretty significantly. More so, I think, with a spread and a key number, but we'll talk about all that. And then the Broncos still money line favorites at 56% with the best edge in this game, 2.8%. But yeah, so this has been a really interesting one. This moved from Bills -1.5. Now it looks like you can get the Broncos at a pick 'em. It was Broncos -1, -1.5 earlier today. So lots of movement and stuff going on with this one, which is not totally surprising, as we kind of talked about it being a little bit surprising in itself that the Bills were favored -1.5 and it didn't settle for the Broncos as home favorites. But model has moved kind of in line with this, previously giving the Broncos just a 55% probability. Now just 53.6% with the shorter number. When they were favored at -1.5, it was just 50%. So it's going to be a really close one if the model's projections are any indication. The total has kind of hovered around from 46.5 to 45.5, depending where you look. And now we finally have a slight lean on the model, a little shorter than it was at opening, 46.5. But if you like the under, you'll take the 46 over 45.5 any day, really. No value in either line, so to speak. About fair odds here on the spread at this particular number anyway. And as mentioned, the Broncos with a little money line value. So some kind of interesting stuff early on with this one, without even diving into the game too much. Probably the most movement we've seen out of any of these 4 games so far.
Yeah, this one's all over the place, which I guess makes sense. This is probably the most up for debate who's going to win this game, I think, of the divisional round. So I'm not surprised to see a bunch of movement. I'm not surprised to see a bunch of slight edges depending on the key number that you're trying to hone in on here. But I don't know. Where do you personally sit in terms of your own approach to this game?
Well, I already like the under anyway. The spread I think is a total mess. Like it's a hard one for me to handicap or really even pick a side. Really, what you have to do, I think, when it's this close is, the model giving a major lean. I mean, obviously it likes the Broncos, so if you can get the Broncos as an underdog, even if it's plus a half a point on a pick 'em, that's obviously the better side to be on per the model, rather than having to bet them as a favorite. But even when we were looking at it the other day, it was practically the same money line odds on both sides. I like the under. It's something I've got down here, in the notes as far as my personal leans in this. Like if I'm picking this game, I feel like it's going to be the Broncos. We talked about a lot of the injury stuff with the Bills. Looks like Jordan Poyer is probably definitely going to be out. Definitely. He didn't practice on Wednesday after aggravating that hamstring injury. Sean McDermott's called him week to week, so they're going to be hurting there in the secondary. Going to get a little bit of reinforcements wide receiver wise with Curtis Samuel coming off IR, but like how much that really helps this Bills wide receiver room, I don't know. And for the Broncos, it couldn't be more opposite. Like pretty much a clean bill of health. Dre Greenlaw listed as limited, but he's probably on track to play, it seems like, which will be a big boost for the Broncos rushing defense, regardless of what Sean Payton wants to say, which is already among the best anyway in the NFL. So, a long-winded way of me saying I'm really feeling the under in this game. Broncos defense is so good, healthy, rested. They could sustain long drives on the ground, probably wear down the Bills defense. So regardless of what side you're on, money line or spread, I definitely like the under. My personal prediction would be 24-20 Broncos in this one.
Okay. I'm still looking for creative angles here. I don't want any part of money line or spread bets in this game. In my bracket challenge, I do have the Bills winning this game, so I guess that would be my rooting interest. Maybe that's why I'm so hesitant to give in to the model's edge to the Broncos. I agree with you on the lean with the under. I agree with the model on a lean to the under, but yeah, I don't know. I'm still I'm scrolling through the DraftKings app right now, like looking for the creative ways to bet like a back and forth game. I might discover one in the next 30 seconds. What props are you looking at?
So I think there's going to be a lot of rushing. Like the game's going to hinge on that for the most part. But could be a long day for the Bills in that regard. They really struggled to get James Cook going against the Jaguars rushing defense, which is the only one that was better than Denver this year. Only 2 teams allowed fewer rushing TDs than Denver. So we've got Cook for 82 yards, but his line's 73.5. So if you're going just by the projection, that's a solid bet. 80 plus at plus 117 on DraftKings last I looked. Pretty appealing. But personally, I just think if he doesn't break a long run, it might be hard for him to kind of just chip away at that. If the Broncos get up, and I don't think they'll get up big points, but if they are, they're going to be able to contain and funnel this Bills offense into exactly the game plan they want. Only one player hit more than 70 rushing yards versus Denver this whole season. It was Jonathan Taylor with 165 back in week 2 when he was, offensive player of the year for 5 weeks. And on the flip side, the Bills rushing defense is really bad. Struggled once again last week, 154 total yards allowed to the Jaguars in the wild card, which is basically their season average. So they were not even a lick better in the playoffs. All chunk plays, 5.2 yards per carry for at the lowest for all of Trevor Lawrence, Bashaw Tutin, and Travis Etienne. So it was, it just could not match up, I think, worse for these two teams as far as the run game in regards to Buffalo. So I think it's going to be a lot of running here, probably not to James Cook's benefit, but volume wise, he's probably going to get a lot of work. I just don't know if he's going to be able to chip away at that total. RJ Harvey, let me check the props here. So we actually had a little value on his under yards. He's 56.5 rushing yards, 59%, but projection is 54.6. So it's not like really significant of a discrepancy for me to just really get behind. Little too close for me. I actually kind of personally do like him in this game and actually look for him for some first quarter yards. The Jags really went after the Bills on the ground early last week. Runs of 12, 13, 14, and 20 yards in the first quarter, all on one drive that ended in a score. You can get just shy of even money for 15 plus on Harvey in the first quarter. I think definitely worth a look at some of those lines. And then still in regards to the running game, the quarterbacks obviously both decently mobile and both are projected for plus money value with their yards. Josh Allen at 40, Bo Nix at 27. Allen's plus money is 40 plus. Bo Nix is 25 plus. So definitely a lot of run game. Receiving stuff I don't really like a lot here. You get the jumbled Bills wide receivers against a really good passing defense. The Bills passing defense is good too. They did give up 3 passing touchdowns last week, but aside from Parker Washington, who had a pretty good game, 107 yards, there was no passing production in the Jaguars offense. So, I don't know. If there's someone who's going to replicate that game, it's Troy Franklin or Pat Bryant, but good luck picking them. I really don't know who it's going to be. They got low projections from the model. So,
yeah. I feel like if you're going receiving props in this game, you almost have to just play the long shots, especially given the state of the Bills receivers room right now, which is not inspiring, by the way. I had a couple Brandon Cooks props last week, and he was definitely the wide receiver too. And other than one big catch late, it was not a lot of looking his way and still in and out. They run so many jumbo sets and bring in, 3 tight ends on plays around the red zone and honestly just trudge forward with Josh Allen. I think from a prop perspective, I definitely just want a piece of Josh Allen in this game, whether it's on the ground with yards or even just to find the end zone himself. I feel like they've leaned on that in big game settings. I think, he was kind of the epitome of their red zone offense last week. It was just, we're going to keep rushing him forward and he's too big and too strong. That sneak late in the game was such a huge play. So that's what I'm after. I also did find my creative way to play this. So given that the model sees this being a very close game, we see it being a very close game. I think there's a couple different ways to play that are available on DraftKings and presumably other sportsbook apps as well. I see a market for largest lead of the game under 14.5. I really like that. I also really like either team to score 3 unanswered times. No, at plus 115. I think this is going to be a very back and forth, low scoring game. And I just will be shocked if there's ever really a moment where a team creates a larger than 2 touchdown separation.
I think those are really good spots. The 14.5 largest lead. That's the normal line. What are the odds on that?
Minus 135. No. So you are laying a little juice, but
yeah.
I don't even hate that. I really think this is going to be a 1 possession game throughout.
Yeah, no, I don't really see any team with the length that these drives are going to be, the probably willingness to go for field goals rather than go for it in close, not close, yardage wise, but, debatable situations. And that's going to, anytime a team scores, it obviously resets the 3 unanswered times. So all you need is a field goal to keep that in play. So yeah, it's pretty nice. I like that. Touchdown value, not a whole lot here. It's pretty much all long shots. Brandon Cooks was in here before. He's gone now. I don't know if that's because the odds moved or probability has changed. Probably the former. Ty Johnson, I'm not even sure if you want to bet a long shot, that's fine. But if it's not James Cook at the goal line, it's gonna be Josh Allen. You're really betting on an unlikely scenario. And Julio McLaughlin, a little bit more interesting. He's had some volume lately, but only 1 red zone carry over his final 3 games. And RJ Harvey, who isn't the most efficient runner, still is getting all the scoring equity. So no one really I'm loving outside those top options like Josh Allen, RJ Harvey, and the like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that tracks with everything we're saying here. So, All right. there we have it on Bills Broncos. Should be a highly entertaining game and good opportunity for some long shots for sure from a prop perspective. Next up, Niners Seahawks. Earlier in the week on episode 1, I told you I was leaning towards Niners money line and feeling like this is my upset pick of the week. The model showed value there earlier in the week. Has anything changed?
Not too much. It's tightened up a little bit. You lost a half point on the spread. Most books seems pretty consensus at +7 here. So we're 50-50 on that. We had a little bit more of an edge on the +7.5. So again, kind of shows you how important getting a spread outside the key number, like a full touchdown, can be. Total shortened by looks like it's gone actually back up. It was 44.5 earlier. We have 53%, but as you see, it's gone up to 45.5. We're back to 50-50 on it. So again, really, they were both available. So, check your books, and sometimes just depending what side you want to be on, that's more important to just get the better line than just take what the model's current prediction says. It's really personal preference, but if you're looking to bet the over and you can get it at 44.5, you just should shop around and make sure you're not overlooking anything like that. And then 49ers money line, right about fair odds. I think that would be +280. You get +290 here, so almost a 1% edge. So if you do like the upset, you are getting a very little bit of value on that. Personally, haven't really changed my feelings much about this game since Tuesday's show. Yeah, you'd like the +7.5, I think, but we said we love the Niners at that number. You said you would even maybe play them up to 3.5 on a spread. I think you said, Greg, you'd have to pay up to -125 to get them 7.5. And almost even money at +7. So I'd be fine to take it and just hope that you're not going to get hooked on the wrong side of that. But, that's just kind of my general feeling about it. Total wise, no edge on the over at this number. If you get it at 44.5, you'll find a little bit because we had 53.6%. No incentive to really play it if you don't have value, according to the model. And I personally still think this might be one of the lowest, or might be the lowest scoring game of the weekend. As I said the other day, both meetings went well under previously. And I think the familiarity of these teams and, the win or go home elimination style of this is going to make this a lower scoring battle. Not unlike the previous game.
Yep. Yeah, I'm on the under. I'm also on Niners +7. If you haven't gotten it yet, at 7.5, I think 7's fine. To your point, I would play it down further than that. I'm not worried about getting a half a point here, even though I love a key number. I'd rather get a good price. I think this game is going to be extremely close. I think San Francisco has a great chance to win. So happy the model still sees it at least that way a little bit. Let's go to props next. What are you looking for?
Let's see. There's actually like a bunch of straight up prop value on its own in this game. If you're watching, you see me scrolling through, like there's easily over a dozen props here, probably about 20. Just by my quick count, I can actually just see that here, 19. So I would encourage anyone to just dive into here and look at it. But bunch of angles on CMC, both touchdown value, receiving. Oh, this is an interesting line. This was 53.5 earlier. And his receptions, I believe we had as well, under 6.5. I do kind of like both of those. I know, you're fading a great player in a situation that he's been pretty good in this year, but he did actually go under this in 7 straight games before going over last week versus the Eagles. And he needed a big play to do it, his second longest play of the entire season. Under 6.5 receptions down here. He is under that in 6 straight, including the playoffs. Think you're more likely to see his Kittle's vacated targets filter between Tongas, Juszczyk, and Pearsall if he's healthy. And he said he's optimistic that he'll play. Plus Trent Williams is on track to play. So I think they're just going to use CMC more in the run game, feature him more like that. And I mean, your call if you want to fade Christian McCaffrey in that regard, but it is something that the model does favor and trends wise does kind of play in that regard, which is pretty good. As far as the run game for Seattle, which I have here, Ken Walker 60 yards, Zach Charbonnet 49, but Zach Charbonnet notably 10% higher than Ken Walker to score. They really tore him up in that last game, week 18. I think almost 100 yards for Ken Walker, 70 maybe for Zach Charbonnet. I should have written that down, but I didn't. But that's where I'd be looking, certainly. I kind of like a little reverse correlation. Zach Charbonnet touchdown, but Ken Walker hitting his over, or at least grabbing 60-plus rushing yards. It was all RBs for him in that game. Sam Darnold has kind of cooled off in the second half of the season. Never been this far in the playoffs before, so they might just kind of trust the run game that has turned a corner a bit for them after having some pretty bleak games earlier on. I will say, we have value from the model on Ken Walker's the under on his receiving yards. I'm personally not a fan. Our projection is over, but that is, they are based on averages, so the high variance can do that. But we have him for 16, and I think he recorded 20 or 25 in the first quarter against the Niners. They went right to him in that game. Personally, it's just a little spot that I like for him anyway. But overall, it's I don't know. Without knowing exactly if Ricky Pearsall is gonna play, it's just kind of a tough one to bet props wise, I think, for the 49ers side. More value for me on the Seahawks side. But like I said, almost 20 props on here. So I strongly encourage people to dive in and see where the prop value is overall. Don't hate Sam Darnold's under 239.5, projecting 230, 58.7%. Don't hate that at all. Unless it's going to be dump offs and JSN, that's pretty uninspiring pass catching group.
Yeah, it's probably also worth noting Darnold's playoff history here. It was just a year ago, right? In that first round game against Detroit, or whatever I forget if that was even a divisional round game or where it was. It might have even been like the play-in game almost for the Vikings.
Yeah, had to. Like the week 18 game?
Yeah, I think it was the final game of the regular season. They needed a win for, I don't know, seeding or something. Just Darnold.
Yeah, top seed.
Darnold was terrible. He was like a total turtle. And he's been an amazing regular season quarterback. I don't trust big game Darnold at all, which is a big part of my scout on why I think there's value on the Niners here. So I think if I were looking props, it's going to be steering away from Seattle's receiving options. Certainly love a Sam Darnold under, possibly look at a Sam Darnold turnover here. Those are things that appeal to me for sure. What about touchdown value?
Touchdown value. Like I mentioned, Christian McCaffrey gets it for 2+. I think it's all on the 49ers last I checked. Brian Robinson Jr. gets one. His role is trending downward in December. He's appropriately plus 1,400. We have him 10.5%. So he's certainly a long shot. Bottomed out with 0 touches in the wild card. Not really something I'd be looking at. It's just a total dart throw. McCaffrey gets value for 2+ once again. He did last week at almost the same odds. It might have been plus 550. He cashed that, of course. And then Purdy over 1.5 here. Pretty solid value, plus 142, 45.6% for 2+ passing touchdowns. I don't really love it. Aside from the Rams game, Seahawks only allowed 1 passing touchdown over their final 6 weeks. So just totally lock that down. So it, really, again, it's going to be probably CMC that this game funnels through. I think he was minus 125 or minus 130 for a touchdown this week, which is right about fair odds at our anytime PD probability is the highest to score. So I think I like a Charbonnet CMC 2-legger if I'm playing one in this game. I just can't get behind Ken Walker. I've just seen Charbonnet vulture him far too many times. He got 10% higher. The model's aware. It's like the vulture data point is in here. It's Charbonnet for the Seahawks for me, McCaffrey for the Niners. That's pretty much all I'm interested in.
Yep, I think that's fair. I've been burned by Kenneth Walker one too many times before. It won't happen again. All right, there you have it. Go Niners from my perspective. Let's move to game 3. We've got the Texans and the Pats. And model projects a 3-point Patriots win here. Any value on the spread or the total?
Depends kind of where you're getting it. Another one which has jumped around a bit. I've had to amend my notes before this show a couple times because it was So it was +3 for pretty much the entire week leading up to about an hour ago, and then saw 3.5 pretty well across the board. Now it looks like it's dropped again, +3. Totally even money on the spread, though, so you're getting perfectly fair odds on the Texans. Totals bounced around a bit, 40.5, 41, 54.9% to the over at 40.5, which is pretty solid. You're getting a sweet spot bet there. So when this was 3.5, this was 56.5% probability. It was also a best bet from the Dimers model. Probably going to stick with that. If it can be played at that number, you have to look around to see what you can get it. This was probably going to bounce back and forth between Handle coming in and honestly Nico Collins' status. I'm pretty sure that was probably what moved it a half point. Latest update suggests that he's definitely not going to play. That's, TBDs and concussion protocol, whatnot. But I think that's probably the biggest impact of that, at least my assumption. But so 3.5 is probably a best bet from the model still. Like I said, it was 56.5% at that little half a point makes a huge difference. I'll get back to that in real quick. No value on the Patriots money line. And they're getting almost 63% probability, almost fair odds here, but that's pretty juicy money line for my taste. But anyway, what I was going to say is this is another game, kind of like we pointed out a couple weeks ago with the Bucks Panthers, that I don't hate trying to middle with a little sprinkle on Pat's money line. Texans +3 at +3 on DraftKings. It's probably better now with this even money, but at +3 and Patriots money line was 10-1 on DraftKings, only +553 on FanDuel. So an EV play by comparison alone right there. But notably, when this was 3.5 right before the show and I checked it, all the way down to +525. So taking that half point in on the middle gets you a pretty appealing long shot at 10-1. We hit it with the Panthers Bucks one, and this is a game that screams close to me all the way through. I could certainly see that. I personally like the Texans on the money line, partly because I have them in my bracket and I kind of need that. It's my rooting interest, like he said. But without Nico Collins, I think it's going to be kind of tough. But I do think the defense is enough to keep this close. So yeah, I really like a middle in this personally. I will almost definitely be playing that, to be honest.
Yeah. When Dave says middle, I say let's do it. I'm in. You don't have to tell me twice, my friend. You've done it once. Let's make magic strike twice. Okay. Injury concerns. You mentioned Nico Collins. We think this is trending towards just flatly out, but there's plenty of concerns on the Patriots side as well.
Yeah, starting right tackle, Morgan Moses in practice. And this is a team that's had issues with sacks, so any downgrades on the offensive line is concerning. 5 last week versus the Chargers, and Drake May was one of the most sacked quarterbacks in the regular season. So certainly a concern there. Christian Gonzalez is in concussion protocol as well. Did practice in a limited capacity though, and he's more likely to clear. So that seems like that's trending in his favor. You have to remember Nico Collins not only got carted off in that game, but this was a Monday night, so it's a shorter turnaround for him. Christian Gonzalez played on Sunday. So but if anyway, injuries are kind of pivotal to this, I think. If Gonzalez plays and Collins sits, I think this is going to definitely be 3.5. That's where I would like to play it. Probably takes away my belief that the Texans can win the game, but I certainly think the defense is enough to cover. I don't like to buck the model, but I don't personally like the over in this game. This should be pretty defensively won. The Texans Steelers game took 2 defensive touchdowns and another touchdown in the fourth quarter and still went under. So very dangerously close in that. But I don't know. That's my personal thoughts. My gut feel is that it's a 20-16 Texans win, a close one. Kind of not why I picked it, but I then did look. They've had that exact result twice this year. I just see it. I can just see the defense carrying him to a win, sacking Drake May, CJ Stroud taking that next step, getting one more step closer to the Super Bowl furthest he's ever been. As long as he can take care of the football this time.
Yep. Yeah, I well documented at this point that I didn't love how May performed in his first playoff game. I think he sort of got off scot-free in a game script that ended up going their way. I think this is going to be a more difficult challenge for sure. I think I'd lean towards where your gut is at here, that Houston has a great chance to win this game with or without Nico Collins. The other thing that your gut has been screaming that I agree with is that Ramondre Stevenson is a name to watch from a props perspective.
Yeah, he's got to be our favorite, right? I mean, we talked about it on Tuesday. Really, no matter how this game script goes, I think he's my favorite. He's crept up just a little bit here to even more of a definitive lead in this backfield. We had him at identical touchdown probabilities. Now he's got 3% higher than Travion Henderson. I mean, he cracks the top 5 of Patriots receivers here, which I mean, not a crazy number, but the fact that he's entering that territory. Projected to lead the backfield with 42 rushing, 24 receiving yards here. Both of those would hit his overs. It was a total backfield split last week. I mean, almost dead even. 10 carries for May, 10 for Ramondre, 9 for Travion Henderson. But Ramondre's just been shining, really stepping up, been a reliable guy for them. Yeah, and we got value on him to score, I think on all 3 of them actually, which is really interesting. So Ramondre 2+ and 1. He's down here somewhere with 1. Travion Henderson, 37% plus 195. And there's Ramondre plus 175 at 40%. Drake May, where are you? Maybe he's gone now. His odds might have shifted. But yeah, we had Drake May here. He's like plus 350, I think, for a touchdown. Let me see what our probability is for him real quick. 24.8 plus 350. Yeah, if that's his odds, he should be up there, but could be shifting or just a temporary change in the update. But yeah, so draw all Ramondre for me. I love him pretty much every facet in this game. He'll talk about him a little bit more later as well. But Texans wise, I'm really curious which receiver steps up if Nico Collins is out. Indeed, he's currently in here. But that's likely to change. I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the day, if his status is changed, they should have another practice report out, but probably by the time we're done with this show. Christian Kirk exploded last week, 144 yards. His long catch, 46 yards, the big bomb, came immediately after Collins got taken out. So, I mean, he was like already catching passes and targets. He was ahead of Nico Collins already at that point. But as soon as Collins went down, he was the first guy to catch a big play within 2 snaps of that. So definitely think that's notable. That was to my chagrin because I had a Jaden Higgins ladder in that. And I was like, looking at Christian Kirk, I was like, there's a good chance he's going to end up being the guy. But I didn't do that. I bet on Jaden Higgins and did not happen. So I was disappointed. But we project him at pretty much the same yardage here, 44 and 43. Dalton Schultz, 45, real true 3-way split here. Can't really do much with it now. There's no lines up with Nico Collins' status, what it is. But someone's making big plays. I don't know who it is, but somebody's going to. Somebody always has for them. So,
yep. Yeah. Feels like even some of those reverse correlation, like under 2 catches for 60 yards. I'd look at some of that for maybe a Higgins or even a Kirk in this game. Yeah. Those are fun tickets to hold. Much more fun when you hit them, but I see the big play potential angle that you're going as well. Okay. All right. To the most fun game of this weekend for me. It's Rams and Bears. I told you be warned about the weather. We are a little closer to the weekend yet, and I still haven't heard a firmed up weather report on what to expect in Chicago other than it's going to be very, very cold. We know that. So right now the line is at Rams -4, totals at 48.5. Our model's been all over the Bears all week. Is that still holding true?
It is. This is the only game with an edge in all 3 markets. Like we pretty much said, I'm pretty aligned on all 3 anyway. I'll talk about the total in a little bit. We favored the over at 49.5, so even more so at 48.5. Not crazy, but it's ridden by 0.5% with the point drop. I've seen the line at plus 3.5 on some primary books. So, you know, another one to look out for. You can still get it at +4 on at least Fanatics, Bet Rivers, and Caesars. So again, another one you got to shop around. The lines are sharper than even in the regular season. Not a lot of variance, so worth just checking the books and making sure, again, you're not on the wrong side of a hook when you could have had the better number. Totally aligned personally with the Bears on the spread here. It's a high value play, which is already something that stands out to me. I think the upset is well in play, and you get the sweet spot signal from the Dimers model on that. But with everything we've talked about, both teams really, especially with the Bears, the Rams not closing teams out, the Bears refusing to die when trailing by multiple scores. Now you got home field advantage, potentially this, the weather the daunting weather in play. So really screams Bears on the gut to me. I'm happy the model agrees and isn't, kind of going against one of its favorite teams of the season. The total though, let me talk about the weather real quick, because on the surface, I love this. And then now since Tuesday's show, I've been thinking about it more, and I'm having second thoughts around how cold it's going to be. And again, you never really know how much of a factor it is. Like some guys you can clearly see. Tua, you can see in his numbers, he struggles in the cold. Not really the case with Matt Stafford. He's had pretty good numbers in there. I should have put them down in my notes, but they were solid. But Rams wise, not always the best. Historically, they average 15 points per game in the 4 games, fairly small sample size, but that they've played in 32 degrees or below with McVay. And while the Rams were worse down the stretch with their defense, it got even even worse in the final game. So having almost 29 points a game. So it kind of doesn't set up very well with the historical trends for the Rams in these situations and for the way their defense is going. However, all that said, I don't know if it's enough for me to just totally buck what we've seen from these two teams, the trends that we've seen from both of them down the stretch, where the Bears give up points and score points. The Rams offense is a juggernaut, however, has struggled to keep teams at bay. So I don't know if 20 degrees is enough to change all of that. Maybe. I wish we could see what this total was or would be if it wasn't, or maybe if it was in LA, what this would look like. I'd be very curious. But I don't know if wind is different to me. Cold, these guys have played in cold weather at least sometimes. The ball gets harder to handle and stuff. I'd be more concerned if it was super windy, which it may well be. It is Chicago, and this field is right by the lake, right? So,
yeah. I mean, weather, you have to talk about it, right?
Yeah.
I think we all wish that it was, I don't want to say indoors, because sometimes the most fun games to watch, and you can find betting angles too, are the games in poor weather in NFL playoffs. That's what football fans like. But it would just be really fun to watch these two teams without these concerns, right? I think we could envision a game in the 40s and just drama and crazy high leverage offensive plays needing to be made. What I would say is this. I think there are real concerns with the Rams, given some of the numbers you raised, the 15 points per game in the cold 4 games they've played under McVay. But also Matt Stafford's finger injury is a real thing. Even if he's practicing, that team did not look normal in the second half against the Panthers. So you add those two things together, Stafford outdoors in the cold, maybe not 100%. There's a lot of things that can point you to the underdog here, to the team of destiny underdog here. I keep staring at the same game script we've seen for 2 months here. The Bears fall behind, and then they just obliterate teams in the second half. And I think there's 2 ways to go about betting that. You could bet Rams first half, Bears second half without worrying about who actually wins the game. That's plus 220. Which I don't hate by any means. I think that's a reasonable outcome here. Or you can bet the halftime, full time here and get some pretty crazy value to me. Rams lead at the half, Bears win the game is plus 950 at DraftKings. I mean, we've seen that script in every single Bears win for 2 months right now.
So yeah, you could be rolling that over since October. You'd be rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels like the play to me. If you're going to back the Bears, other than just taking the Bears outright on the spread, I think you just follow the formula here. So I'm going to have a half a unit on that exact Rams at half, Bears full time plus 950. I think I'm also just going to take another half unit on the plus 220, just Bears to win the second half. Something within me tells me the Rams find a way and the Magic falls short here. But I would feel better about it for sure if we weren't talking frigid conditions.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you there. This is another one I don't hate trying to middle. My personal prediction would be 27-24, basically right at what the model has here, right in that zone, with the Bears comeback coming up just short at the end. And once again, Matt Stafford continuing to ride closer and closer to the sunset. But yeah, this is certainly a game that the under and the underdog are more appealing to me than anything else. Props wise, there's not a whole lot that I love receiving regard for the Bears. Like if I look at the receiving core, everyone's really close for the most part. Colston Loveland's leading. I mean, he tore it up last week. I'm pretty sure he's actually like a top 6 projected pass catcher this weekend, which isn't totally surprising given some of the lower totals that we have in other games. But I don't know, just no one here like super jumps out to me. It's kind of similar situation with like the Packers or the Texans. Like I just don't know who is going to be the one guy that emerges. So trying to find who's going to kind of blow the lid off is a little tough here. We'll say what I do think is an interesting angle is looking at players for their longest reception or to a couple guys to each tally a long reception. The Rams got absolutely cooked in that regard last week. 33 and 43-yard receptions to receivers, 35-yard dump off to Chuba. 4 Bears had a reception of 25-plus yards last week. DJ Moore and Rome Odunze were plus money for a 20-yard catch in this last I looked. I did a little fun parlay last week. I put in the Discord one player in each game to get a 15-plus yard reception. We missed by 1. Which stunk. Demario Douglas didn't come through, but I just used the projections like this and just I was like, well, if these guys are all projected to get 25, 30, 40 yards, their longest reception is around 15 or 20, and they're roughly close to even money. That was pretty much what I used in that for that criteria. And we came up one short. We rode that thing all the way to Sunday night. So I'd say an angle I really like in this game, particularly, not without overreacting to the sample sizes of last week. It's pretty much exactly what these teams did as far as game script.
Yep.
Nothing really jumping out to me rushing wise for the most part. I love Blake Corum, but didn't get there last week. I was disappointed. I waited all the way to the third quarter to get a good live line on him. He was still like his pre-game odds deep into the second quarter. Finally got him in the third, and the Rams were struggling at that point, and the game did not go the way I had hoped from that point on. But Kyle Madung guy wasn't very impressive last week. DeAndre Swift, he's solid, but I don't know. We didn't get enough of a read from the Panthers run game last week because Chuba Hubbard's production mostly came in the receiving game, and Rico Dowdle just absolutely vanished over the last 2-3 weeks. I don't know what the hell happened there, but yeah. So I don't know. Just not. I like a lot of rushing angles in a lot of games with RBs and stuff, but not particularly in this one.
Yeah, I want to ask you about this because it's interesting as I was just pouring through all the great insights that the model has projections-wise here. I find it interesting Davante Adams is the highest probability touchdown scorer here. Now, obviously, Adams has been a favorite and a red zone target all year for Stafford, but also Puka Nacua is the best receiver in the NFL. The more I was thinking about this, if this is the terrible weather game, you've got Davante Adams, who's played a bunch of Green Bay Packer outdoor big-time spots, and you've got Puka Nacua, who is the West Coast kid. I'm kind of intrigued in that narrative. Maybe if you are looking for Rams receiver props, you lean to the guy who's been doing it in cold weather in moments like this his whole career.
I don't hate that at all. Familiar spot, familiar stadium for him. and they didn't. I mean, he got his looks last week, but he didn't score. We had 2+ TD probability or value on him earlier. We looked at it on Tuesday's show. It's gone now. I think probably because the probability has shifted because his odds, at least as far as anytime TD, are pretty much the same. So I'm going to guess that is due to probability. But yeah, I don't hate it. There is also something that just tells me Puka is like a t-shirt and gym shorts guy in like 0-degree weather, just like looking unfazed. He just kind of looks like has that look about him that he's just going to, go out there, probably roll up his pant legs and not have the sleeves on, his hair blowing in the wind. And I mean, he can take a rush, they used him for that last week with a big scoring play. He might do that again, just take an end around and be gone. And the yak with him is just crazy. Like he only needs to catch a 10-yard slant and he'll go off. So I don't hate it. I think that is a fun little angle to look at in regards to Devontae Adams. If you're going to do him, I would just take him for 2+ because he's also like -130, which is a little juicy for me on a standalone touchdown prop. And we did have that edge on him early, and it's probably not changed too much. Let me look at the projections real quick here. He is still 1, 2, 3, 4, the fourth most likely player to get 2+ at 15.4%. So anything up to like plus 550 there, you're getting fair odds or better if it's longer than plus 550. So yeah, that's probably what I would look at if you take him instead of just any time. But I do like Puka in this. Spoiler come up again 2 more times here, but yeah, he's under 50% probability, 48.2. He's -115, so not fair. Negative edge there, but he's our top projected wide receiver of the weekend. 101 yards, almost 50% to score. It is pretty hard to imagine they'll slow him down. Like the weather is more likely to slow Puka than the Bears, and I don't think it's going to totally stop him.
Yep. All right. I love it. Thank you for the insight there. Okay. Anything else on Rams Bears before we get to some official best bets?
I think that's it for me. Again, like we had the other day, I could just go on and on about these games. So we'll have to leave some of it to the user to go into the predictions and go from there. But as always, I'll post some stuff in the Discord. Feel free to shout me out in the Discord, myself or Jason. Just ask us. We'll let you know what else is on our mind. If anything changes in the model, we'll have some insights and thoughts on that as well. So.
Yeah, great preview, Dave. Thank you for corralling all of this info for us. We appreciate it, and hopefully it can lead us to some wins. Great segue into our official card for our divisional round best bets.
Weekend best bets.
Reminder, Dimers Pro is what you need. Promo code podcast, get 50% off, and you can access all of this data for yourself, props, best bets, and more with real-time updates as the markets move. But for now that we've covered all of these games from every angle possible, what are we locking in as our best bets?
Yeah, so we'll just touch on these real quick. I'm not even going to dive into them as we've talked about every one of these lines already, but I'll just say they're the 4 bets that we have on site right now, with that small caveat that the Texans line is bouncing around a little bit at this moment. But rather than exclude one to stick with 3 like we usually do, I figured I would just pull them all up. There's only 4, so we'll ride with these as the official Dimers model plays of the weekend. All get a 2% edge or higher. We got 2 sweet spots, a high value play, and a high probability with Texans on the spread. So pretty good stuff here as far as Dimers data points to. Texans plus 3.5, Bears plus 4, Broncos money line, and Texans Patriots over 40.5 would be the 4 best bets from the Dimers model. Keep in mind, things can change again between now, Saturday, and Sunday. We've seen it with a couple games, in particular with the Broncos and the Texans right here on this screen. So something to look out for until the weekend. But regardless, these would be the 4 recommended plays from the model as of now.
There you have it. All right. Thank you, Dave. Good luck if you are tailing our best bets this weekend. Next up, let's turn to our touchdown parlay. We're calling this a podcast play squad ride, combining edges, top probabilities. You've heard us speak to many of these already in the show, but 4 names on the card. You can get this at just over 14-1 on DraftKings. Let's see it.
Yep. Again, guys that we've already talked about, and we're not getting too cute here or anything or going outside. Pretty much our high probabilities and best edges. We're going to go with 1 per game, starting with RJ Harvey for the Broncos, 52% probability, highest in this game. It's the second highest of the entire weekend. Gets a great matchup with the Bills rushing defense. Scored 6 touchdowns over his final 6 games of the regular season. Hard to imagine they will go away from him in a prime matchup. Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers, 57% probability is the highest of the entire weekend. It's right at fair odds here. Gets an edge to score twice. He's the top option in this game. Realistically, probably their only hope of winning this game is to get McCaffrey in the end zone. Notably, Seahawks held him out in the first 2. Probably pretty hard to keep Christian McCaffrey out of the end zone 3 times in a year. He is the funnel for this offense. We get an edge on him, like we said, to get 2 and fair odds here for 1. So we'll ride with him in this game. Moving to Texans Patriots, we got Ramondre Stevenson. He is the lowest probability of all 4 of these guys at 40%. However, still the highest in that whole game. He sits 10th overall for the weekend, so still very good. And the players above him are all pretty much superstars, so it's not like 10th is a low bar here. 6 of his 9 touchdowns in the regular season came in the final 3 games. Been Mr. Reliable for New England down the stretch. And last week, didn't score, but racked up the yards and was heavily featured. Really big chunk plays, too. He's cranking out huge runs and catches. So his receiving work gives him multiple opportunities. Gets a Dimers model edge. The only clear-cut edge for a single anytime TD of these guys would be fair at plus 150. Here he's plus 165. You can get him up to about 175, 180 if you're playing him as a straight. And we'll finish with Puka Nacua. Just talked about him. If you're going with the top overall probability in this game, it's Devontae Adams. He's the only guy who's on the wrong side of even money based on our model's probability, but 48.3% is still a top 5 probability of the whole weekend. He's their biggest weapon against a defense that has let teams continuously score on them. He scored on a rush and a reception last week. And the only edge in this game is Blake Corum at plus 275 and 30%, which is personally for me a bit long, I think, to recommend as your last leg of a parlay, kind of be hanging on that. The cash out will certainly become more intimidating if you're staring at needing Blake Corum to get a touchdown left instead of Puka Nacua. You'll be more conflicted, I think. However, you can split. Like if you were a $10 bettor on a parlay, this is just an example amount, you could put $5 on it with Puka and then put $5 on it with Blake Corum. So you're following the Dimers model edge a little bit more, but not doubling down. You're just using the same wager you would be. So you wouldn't be losing more or risking more if it doesn't hit. And you get the possibility of cashing both. And if one hits, then you weren't going against the model, going against the grain for any reason. Like Greg said, almost 15-1 on DraftKings. They definitely have boosts and stuff, so you can look at that. We'll also note that the 2+ TD plays turned a profit as straights last week. Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, and why am I blanking? Forgot who he had last week. He didn't score anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you played him straight, you would have gotten a profit. We have Christian McCaffrey and Ramondre Stevenson again this week. Ramondre is like plus 1,400. So probably worth a little sprinkle on the straights, which is what the model recommends there. And then I'll just call this out because it's a model endorsed long shot, I guess. If you exclusively took the edges in the games, let's say the highest probability with value, because there's a couple of games having more than one edge, but for the most part, there's only 1 or 2. You would have Ramondre Stevenson, Blake Corum, Jaleel McLaughlin, and Brian Robinson. Maybe a little long shot round robin there. Emphasis on the long shot, especially with guys like Brian Robinson and Jaleel McLaughlin in there. But it's the playoffs. Things get weird. Wouldn't be the worst thing. If we were doing an official round robin based on edges, like anytime TD, those would be the guys who would kind of be at the top based on their odds and the value we find. So I'll leave that up to you guys, though. This will be our official play for the weekend.
Love it. All right. Giving us lots of different ways to go about some touchdown round robin parlays this weekend. Thank you, Dave. This is not a joke. So we do our personal plays. You're going to unveil yours here in a moment at the end of the episode. I went to add my personal play without knowing what the touchdown parlay was for this week. And 3 of the 4 legs were in what I like personally. I just swapped out Josh Allen for the first leg of that. Instead of RJ Harvey, I was good with everything else. So I think we're aligned here. The model, you and I, all in lockstep.
If Josh Allen were the top probability, it would be him. There wasn't a viable edge in that game, that I would want to parlay. Jaleel McLaughlin, Brandon Cooks, Ty Johnson. I'm not putting those guys in the touchdown parlay, especially the first leg. So I was just going by top probability. If it were Allen, it would be Josh Allen, and it's probably only about 2% or so. It's not very high, but just to keep things simple, I rode with RJ Harvey in the good matchup and whatnot.
I think it's about the best way to bet playoff football. Back the good players to score, and you can not really go wrong if you do that. All right. Thank you, Dave. We appreciate it. We unveiled the Dimers playoff pick'em bracket last week on the show. We want to do a quick look in at our bracket contest as we turn to the second round. We do currently have 1 perfect entry, and he's my op because I'm chasing him down. We were tied at 6 for 6 picks going into the 7th game last week. And it was Quinn from the Dimers Discord who went perfect, flawless, the only perfect entry through round 1. But don't worry, Quinn. I'm coming for you this weekend.
I love it, Greg. You're about 15 minutes away from possibly being 7 for 7 in the games. You're right there, or 7 for 6 for 6 in the games. You are now in a 6-way tie for second. Still pretty good. Well done. Myself, I'm in the next tier alongside the Dimers bot entry. Disappointed I didn't trust my gut with the Niners upset. That would have put me in that tier with you, but I tried to be objective and not let my hate of the Eagles get in the way of believing they could win the game. But that has led to my NFC Championship now being played in this round. So I'm a little capped here on points, but both our Super Bowls are in play. We got that going for us. Still got a chance to make a little run here. I'm not too worried about my next couple matchups that I actually have in the bracket, though I'm going to be missing a few points. We'll check back in next week to see who's in play ahead of conference championships and who's at the top of the leaderboard as we compete for 3 free months of Dimers Pro for the users that not myself and Greg. We already got that.
Yep. Yeah. Trust me. I haven't gone.
We just want the glory
for like 3 years right now, folks. But if I win, I'll give it out as a gift. How about that? But not to Quinn, because Quinn's pissing me off right now. Quinn, why'd you have to be so smart in round 1, Quinn? I don't get it. Why'd you know to fade Aaron Rodgers and I didn't? Quinn, I want some of what you're sipping. It's been fun to track this. We'll see what happens this round, and we'll update you as we continue through the playoffs. I alluded to our personal plays just a moment ago, and I'm excited to see what you came up with here for the divisional round. What do you got?
Unsurprisingly, I have talked about all these guys in most of our prop looks, and it's what I pretty much 4 guys that I love in their situations. I've done this a couple times on the show, more so in the first half of the season. But first quarter parlay on 4 guys I absolutely love to hit their lines nice and early, plus 1846 on DraftKings. We got RJ Harvey, 15 rush yards in the first quarter. Ken Walker, 15 plus rushing yards in the first quarter. Ramondre, 5 plus receiving yards in the first quarter. You can take that as high as you want. I would comfortable playing it up to 15 maybe, but it's plus 159 for the 5. And this is a parlay, so I'm happy to take the lowest entry there. I will probably ladder that on my own up to his 20, maybe 25, as we know he can do that with pretty much one play. And then finally, Puka for 25 plus receiving yards in the first quarter. A little high of a line, but again, he can take one slant and be gone. And if there's anybody I like to get looks early, it's him. I mean, you could do that on 1, 2, 3 catches on the first drive that the Rams get. So Almost 19-1 here. First quarter action on RJ Harvey, Ken Walker, Ramondre Stevenson, and Puka Nakua.
Bang. Love it. Beautiful. All right. I talked myself into this as the episode went on. Honestly, I think these are all going to be close games. We talked through the game scripts for all of them. Your predictions were also pretty much one possession scores. I see it that way too. In the first week, in the wild card weekend, 4 of the 6 games ended up hitting under 14.5 for the largest lead. I just need 4 for 4 this weekend, and I'll cash my 10-1 under largest lead parlay. I'm rooting for close games. It's under 14.5 across the board, except for Texans Pats, which is under 13.5, which I can guarantee if I lose by 1 leg here, it's going to get hooked in Texans Pats. But really the biggest concern to me for this not hitting is the Bears falling behind by 100 again in the first half. Cold weather and Matt Stafford with a lingering finger issue could maybe keep this closer. I really just do think these are all going to be one possession games. It's been the year of parity. It's anybody's game. I think as the playoffs progress, we're going to see teams be tight. I don't think we're going to see much separation. And I think this is a really fun way to bet this round. So 4 games under 14.5 for the largest lead in 3 of them. Texans Pats being the one that we need to go under 13.5. It's plus 1061 at DraftKings Sportsbook.
I love that stuff. I love kind of looking for the not silly angles, but we had fun with it last week with the interceptions. Came up 1 short on that as that parlay. I did a parlay. Again, this was silly, but for fun, I took every game to have the shortest field goal over 27.5. That was sweat-free, except for the fact the opening score of Bears Packers was a 27-yard field goal. So that stuff is so fun, but there's always that danger of the hook. And yeah, right. Like if it's going to be anything, it's going to be a 14-point lead in Texans Patriots here. But that stuff is just fun. You're getting good teams that are competitive. So, you're looking at that. My logic with the field goal thing was these teams that are close are going to go for it. And if they're outside, they'll happily settle for the 3. And a half a yard was the difference. But yeah, that's sometimes how it goes. But I like that. Competitive games, look for those fun angles.
It's an incredibly fun sport to bet and look for fun, creative angles. And yeah, I feel like we've laid out a bunch of different ways to go about this. So hopefully we have helped you along the way. Okay, before we get to the conclusion of the show, I do want to talk on the college football national championship real quick. So let's do a quick check-in for the college corner one last time for college football.
College Corner.
All right, it feels like so many times this year I've come on here and been lockstep with the model, and I'm going to warn everybody right now. We're just going to look at what the model shows here because I'm terrified of what the model is telling us to do. I'm not telling you to fade the Dimers model. I would never do that. If anything, the model is going to prevent me from potentially going way too heavy on the side that I'm nervous to go down now. The model sees Miami plus 8.5 as the side with value against Indiana in the national championship. As you can see, Dimers projects a 27-21 Indiana victory, a 57% chance that Miami covers the spread at plus 8.5. There's also value on Miami money line. There's also value on the under 47.5 as currently priced. Now, here's what I would say here. There's been a lot of line movement this week, and that's the value of Dimers Pro as the edge moves with the value and with the market, and it'll tell you where the value is at any given point. This line was projected to open up at Indiana 5.5. It ended up opening up at Indiana 7.5. It's been bet up to Indiana minus 8.5. Public sharps everywhere in the industry are all on Indiana. That's a crazy thing to have happen. But also, if you have watched this playoff run, I think you get it. This team is a buzzsaw that is obliterating everybody by 30. Now, it's interesting to note, I think the Dimers model has been in lockstep with me, sort of going against Indiana week after week leading up to this moment. I think there is a good argument that Indiana's been fortunate. They've forced a lot of turnovers in the first drive. That pick six against Oregon really changed the entire flow of the game. And I think at a certain point, you would expect maybe there isn't a massive emotional swing in Indiana's favor in the turnover department early in a game. This game is essentially a home game for Miami. There's a lot of emotional handicapping to do here with Indiana's quarterback, Fernando Mendoza, who grew up a mile from this stadium and now has to play the hometown team that didn't offer him in the national championship game. Both these teams have dominated the trenches in the lead up to this game. I think we've seen Indiana as dominant as they have been in this playoff run. We saw a regular season full of games where they flirted with the edge. And I think back to that Penn State game against a Penn State team that barely qualified for a bowl game. Indiana needed a heroic last final drive in order to secure a victory there. The Hoosiers are not unbeatable, even if they feel like it. And the reality is, I wanted to back Indiana in this game. This line is not favorable to do so. At 8.5, that is just a hefty price to pay. It's the Curt Cignetti tax, if you will, knowing everyone in the world wants to be a part of history chasing this Indiana storybook season. The more I sit on this and look at it, it's not a surprise that the Dimers model projects this to be a closer game than where the current model is. Now, you have to have some gusto to actually bet it. And if you are someone who blindly bets the Dimers model's best bets, I think you're rushing to put this at the top of your card. And I think, quite frankly, you're profitable if you've done that for years. Like, we have the data that backs this. If you bet our best bets, you are going to come out in the green. So my personal handicapping advice, I wouldn't touch Indiana minus 8.5. I think the model is screaming that that's not a favorable number. If you are someone who is going to insist on backing the Hoosiers, I would almost encourage you look at some alternate line options. Indiana minus 13 gets you plus money instead of paying like a minus 110 price, even though you're over a touchdown to win anyway. But for me, if you're playing the spread, I think you've got to listen to the Dimers model and take Miami plus 8.5. The under is the one angle here that I am in lockstep with. And I think it goes one of two ways here. I think either Miami hangs, and this is uncomfortably close, and the model is right that they have a great chance to win this game. If they do, that means that their front seven is able to find success and get Fernando Mendoza under pressure. If they do that, this game should easily go under. Miami has played a bunch of low-scoring games throughout this playoff run. They've gotten to quarterbacks. They've continuously won the field position battle. That's their formula to victory in keeping this close. It's conducive to an under. If it goes the other way, let's just say that Indiana is the team of destiny, and maybe they get out to another early 14-0 lead, and Miami's playing from behind. I think there's a world where the Miami offense just can't keep up. And you see another blowout Indiana victory where Indiana's, 35-10, and that still hits the under 47.5. Mm-hmm. So for me, under is the one that I am just hugging the Dimers model on. Thank you to the model for maybe giving me a voice of caution at backing Indiana. That is what we see for the national championship game. But like I said, however you bet this game, this is a pretty clear indication where the price is at is a misprice on what the spread should be going into the championship game.
Very well said, Greg. Thanks for breaking all that down. And I mean, yeah, these are really significant edges, so it's good to have a little additional insight on that. Because yeah, if you are someone who just likes to, tail the best bets, you're going to see this and, like you said, want to run to it. So, anything prop wise stand out to you? Your guy you called out last week, Charlie Becker, he scored, I believe, right? And I think caught 4 passes, so it was good.
It feels like everybody from Indiana scoring, and maybe not surprisingly here, you will see a lot of Indiana unders showing value. And given that our model is all over Miami in this game, again, that sort of tracks with where we're at. For me, I think there's plenty of props to choose from. It's some of the biggest names. Malachi Tony, Roman Hemby are both, kind of first options on each of these teams. There's not a lot of long shot value in terms of actual like find the end zone plays here that I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Indiana unders pretty much across the board, but kind of as I've spoken to here, I'm really hesitant to go all in on this for obvious reasons. They've just been so good in this stretch that props are pretty much a stay away from me in this game. If you are looking on Miami, though, again, this is all under the lens of how do you want to play this. If you are following the Timers Model's advice and you're on Miami, I think pairing a Miami spread with a Malachi Toney touchdown is a really good way to maybe juice up this number into plus money value a little bit. Tony's been a big playmaker all postseason. He's really emerged from a fresh sensation throughout the season to the go-to guy for this team. But again, I'm pretty hesitant to touch either side in this game. I just can equally see both outcomes. This Indiana team is everything they've been for a month now, and it's too much for Miami to handle. I can also see the model being right, and Miami capitalizes on this mispriced number and keeps this close all game. For me, under's the way to play it, which would mean I like under on a lot of these props. But as you know, Dave, under props are not exactly conducive to touchdown value.
Yeah, certainly reverse correlating if you go that route. But yeah, I think that makes sense too, right? I mean, if Miami's going to score, put up some points, it's probably going to be by way of their pretty electric wide receiver who's been a dog lately. So good stuff, Greg. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And as we said earlier this week, college basketball season is rolling. If you listen to this show weekly, we'll have plenty more college corner advice on the hoops front. But for college football fans, one final chance to finish this season on a good note in the national championship. With that said, let's close the show with what else is on Dimers this week.
What's on Dimers this week?
You got a bunch of written work coming our way this week.
Yeah, as much as possible. Try and crank out some more looks at the divisional round. Probably dive into our trends tool, see what's cooking up there. We'll look into maybe any other touchdown value that pops up. I would like to do maybe an official round robin, but that's going to be dependent on what emerges on the site as far as value is concerned. Not trying to go after first TDs really in the playoffs. Hard enough in the regular season, and becomes a little bit more unpredictable. But it would be nice if we can get some sort of round robin action to take us into the playoffs. Probably we'll have a parlay or a same game parlay or two, maybe one for each day. Didn't do it last week. There are too many games to sort through. Content going on already. We got golf updating after every round. I'm actually gonna do a quick check in on that leaderboard, see where we're at. Our guy Ben Griffin is T3 right now, -4, one back. Robert McIntyre, my personal play, -3, T9. So we got some early stuff going on. JJ Spawn, Harry Hall, both -2. Corey Connors, Russell Henley, even. So pretty good start for the Dimers model through 8 holes of the 2026 season. Goes.
They did it again. They did it.
Yeah,
8 holes in.
Close the books. Yeah, close it. Close it now. Cash them out and call it. So we'll have those updates for every round of golf on site. If you miss those early plays, there will be some more value. Inevitably happens every single round. So keep an eye out for that. And then, of course, you already know we got our daily sports. Premier League is back this weekend. So it'll be full slates, I believe, tomorrow or Saturday and Sunday, rather. Be all involved on dimers.com. You'll find it all.
Yes. With golf, it's fun because these 4-day tournaments, it almost reminds me of March Madness, my favorite sporting event, where you're just checking back in at the end of the night and things have changed and how are we going to react and bet it. And Dimers Model makes its money by giving you those updates and finding the right times to jump in. So make sure you check it out. Dimers Pro, 50% off. Promo code podcast and get your access now. Dave, thanks for everything this week. Good luck to you again in this divisional round. Gamble responsibly, people at home, and we will be back with another episode of this show on Tuesday. Cheers.